Tasmania really trying to stop the virus entering the state, effectively lifting up the drawbridge by enacting this 14-day quarantine period for non-essential travellers. Anyone who doesn't comply could face a $16,000 fine or 6 months jail. Here's the Tassie Premier explaining some of the people who are exempt.
Essential travellers will be those that are important to our health effort or to an emergency situation, or those that keep our trade links running. This will be, in Tasmania, the strongest border measures in the country in terms of the states and territories. I make no apologies for that. There may be some that may suffer some difficulties as a result, but I want to make it clear as well. Any Tasmanian can still come home, but if they come home after midnight on Friday, they will need to go into a 2-week quarantine.
So I think the Tasmanian government have made a strong decision, but it's the right decision for Tasmanians, and I congratulate them on it. It will, of course, result in some inconvenience. It will have a particular impact on the Tasmanian economy, given that it is so reliant upon the tourism sector. But I do think it's the right decision. We need to make the right health decisions first, and then consider what the economic implications are of that.
Ash, this will of course have an impact on federal politicians from Tasmania returning to Canberra next week. Some have already decided not to return to Parliament so as to not cop that quarantine period, including Independent Senator Jackie Lambie. She's backed in the Premier's decision and has suggested that the state could go it alone on other issues as well.
When it comes to the kids, I think we're just going to have to take that day to day. But if that starts to spread down our schools, then look, I would think that Peter Gutwein would have the courage to come out and say that's it, no school for a month. I would suggest the schools around Tasmania get prepared so those kids can work offline if they're at home, and we take it from there.
Ash, as you revealed this morning, the WA government has shot down suggestions it could follow Tasmania in implementing strict border controls as well. A statement given to Sky News reads, "We have no medical advice that this is necessary. WA borders are different to Tasmania as an island state. We would have supply chain issues and we would need absolute confidence supplies wouldn't be effective." So pointing out the key differences there between Tasmania and WA. Ash?
And Eliza, we know that small businesses, and not just small businesses, actually larger businesses as well, everybody feeling the pain right around the country as they look towards so much uncertainty coming up. Today we're hearing that big banks could be joining forces with the government to try to support these businesses.
It does look like the banks will take this step, Ash, working with the government to try to provide special loans for businesses to get them through an incredibly tough next couple of months ahead. At the same time, the coalition is putting the finishing touches on a second stimulus package. The Prime Minister making it clear that it'll be different to the measures unveiled last week. It'll be more about cushioning the blow for businesses affected by travel restrictions and bans on large gatherings as well.
This will domino right across the economy. So the next package of measures that the Treasurer and I are working on with the Cabinet is to really cushion the blow for those small businesses more broadly, how they're going to be impacted in terms of their cash flow again, but also, sadly, those who might find themselves with not as much work as they had before.
Oh, well, look, we don't want to preempt what the government proposes in the next day or two, but clearly there are substantial gaps in the support that has been announced so far. And the feedback that we have all been receiving, and which I can only assume the government has been receiving too, is that sole traders have largely missed out in the first package that was announced a week ago today. Without being prescriptive about it, clearly the government needs to do something about that.
So, Ash, Labor there wanting more support for casual workers, for sole traders as well, and for renters to make sure they're not evicted during the couple of tough months facing Australia.